Now we're live on our Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And hello to all those folks who are listening to us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And let me, of course, as I do every single time, I appreciate you being here. And I appreciate those folks who are listening to us on Spreaker for being here as well. So let me open it up to the Facebook, and then the folks can join us. So let me do that real quick, and then we'll go from there. So hang tight, everybody. And there. Now, okay. I think we're good to go. There we go. Now we got it. Now we're cooking with bacon, or whatever the saying is. All right, everybody. I'm Bishop James Long. Thank you so much for being here on this Friday evening. It is Friday. Thank God for that. I mean, really, seriously, it's like woohoo! It's a good day. It's a Friday. Any day that's a Friday. It's a good day because that's a good time. Good time. I don't know if I like that light there. Anyway. All right, everybody. Welcome to the presentation. Thanks so much. First of all, a couple things. I am Bishop James Long, and I appreciate you being here with us on this beautiful Friday evening. If you would like to follow along with us, of course, I want you to go to a website, and that website is kgradb.com. KGRADB.com, of course, is who sponsors the show. And we're here, of course, on Sundays and Wednesdays and Fridays and Saturdays, too. So go to KGRADB.com and make sure you subscribe, because if you do, you're going to get 30% off your subscription if you put Bishop as your promo code. Well, you might as well. I mean, first of all, it's already very, very inexpensive to be a member, and they have all kinds of really cool paranormal shows there. So if you like the paranormal, you really need to do yourself a favor, and you got to join KGRADB.com. Now, if you want to go to my website, it's real simple, BishopJamesLong.com. There you go, BishopJamesLong.com. So you can go there. And of course, we have night prayer tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I also teach online demonology, angelology, paranormal studies, and genealogy. So I teach those classes online. You learn at your own pace. It's 100% online. So if you're interested, you can just simply go to BishopJamesLong.com, and you can click on, and then just click on the class, and it'll take you right to the class link and sign up. Send me a message on Facebook, because I 3 times I say, you got to go here, you got to go here, you got to go here. Make sure you go to the right one, and send me a message, say that you signed up. And of course, the church's website is very simple, usocc.org. usocc.org. Yeah, Demonology for Dummies. Well, actually, the demonology course that I have, it really is an introduction course, but it's very thorough, and what you learn at your own pace. So again, the course is demonology, paranormal studies, genealogy, and of course, angelology. This was very important. So it's all there for you. And just simply click on the class link, and there you go. And Judy-Ann, I was able to, thank you very much. I saw your text, but I have been so rushed. I mean, I just sat in the chair. Mr. Producer can vouch, I just sat in the chair. So, it's been one of those days, but we're here, and I appreciate you guys being here. Truly do. Well, thank you very much, Diane. I appreciate that. Diane says the paranormal course is excellent. Well, thank you. Thank you. So let me just say this, because we always have to say it. We always have to address it. And it's a shame that I have to, but I'm going to anyway. First of all, TikTok. Those of you who are offering gifts to the ministry, thank you for that. I sincerely appreciate that. For those of you who are liking and sharing, thank you also for TikTok. We're trying to get verified. I've sent all the information into TikTok to get the account verified. If I don't thank you, Tom. If I don't thank you individually, I apologize, because I do run the show on 3 different computers. So that's the problem. You know what I mean? It's sometimes I don't see it. And so I just want to make sure I let you guys know that. And thank you, moderators, for being here as well. Now, this is for any of our platforms, whether it be Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, whether it be Instagram, or wherever it is. I don't respond to haters. I don't respond to trolls. I completely ignore trolls. Totally 100% ignore trolls. Because here's what I found about trolls. Trolls like to attack people who have the courage to go on social media and do their thing, because the trolls actually want to do that, but they're too afraid to do it themselves. They don't have the courage to do it. So what they do is they stand behind the keyboard and they like to throw stones at people who actually go on social media and show, hey, this is who I am. This is me, world. And so trolls like to throw stones and nasty insults because they're too coward. They're too cowardly to actually go on social media and do it themselves. So this is it's kind of the thing that I've learned about trolls. That's why I don't. That's why I don't care what a troll has to say. Because they're too cowardly to do it, go on social media and show the world themselves, because they themselves don't want to subject themselves to the hate that sometimes people get. And so they're just they don't want to do that, but they want to throw stones at people who do. So therefore, I just, trolls are like little kids who just want attention, and I just ignore them. The volume sound is not high enough. I don't know. It should be loud. No, it's loud. Yep, it's pretty loud. You might have to turn. I let me know if you guys can hear pretty clear. If not, I can pin it. Just let me know, because it is. It's good. Yeah. So, let me do this. Perhaps, and this is going to be a little loud, so just bear with me because I got to put this little thing on here. There we go. Okay. Yeah, it's might be on your end, my friend, because everybody is saying that the sound is pretty good on their end. So, yeah, you might want to just check your sound levels. So, I did not see The Nun, but I'm going to. I'm planning on it. Okay, here's how I run the show. The first hour, I like to teach. Something about the paranormal. That's what I like to do, and that's the point. That's what I try to do, and because I love teaching. And so tonight we're going to talk about a topic. I have talked about this before. People have asked me over and over and over. Please do it again. So tonight we're going to talk about cases, legitimate demonic possession cases in history. And we're going to talk a little bit about them. I'll give you some education about them. So all the background information that you may not know. Well, thank you very much there, Kimberly. And so we're going to do that tonight because I think it's important. And so you're going to get a lot of information. And so really the two cases that I'm going to focus on heavily tonight is Anneliese Michel, otherwise known, those of you who know the movie, The Exorcism of Emily Rose. So I'm going to be focusing on that case, and also, of course, the true case of The Exorcist. And because we all know that, they're coming out with the new Exorcist movie. Well, thank you, Jen, and thank you, everybody. I appreciate that. And for those of you, if you're watching, if I say thank you to somebody, it's like TikTok. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you. So if I say thank you, it's because someone offered to give to the ministry. Because you have no idea what I'm talking about, but I have 3 computers running. Thank you, Ray. All right. So the first hour, I really kind of don't entertain questions too much, except for our folks on TikTok and everybody else. But folks on TikTok, I'm going to place the chat on subscribers only for the first hour. Okay. And then the second hour, I'll open it up to everybody. So that's how we do that. And that's how we do every presentation. And so if you like to subscribe, please consider doing that. We would certainly appreciate that very much. So the chat is only for subscribers only right now at 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. Eastern. I'll open it up to everybody. All right. Yeah, you're right, Diane. So let's get into this, everybody. Let's get into the presentation. And I don't think this probably is the best show, as I mentioned several times, for small kids. So I might be playing some sound bites. So you might want to just kind of be aware. Thank you. You might want to be aware of that. And I don't think small children should be, watching or listening to this. Okay. And to you as well. Contrary to sometimes what we see in films, television, and perhaps other areas of popular culture, demonic attacks are most often subtle events as far as the beginning stages. Think of it this way. Why would a demon spend all their energy to throw you off a building when instead they can infiltrate your mind, causing you to feel depressed, causing you to think you're worthless, so that you throw yourself off the building all by yourself. You see, that's truly the way of the demons. The demonic entities will purposely try to break you down to destroy your intellect and will, and they love to cause destruction. So many symptoms of demonic attack look a lot like psychological illnesses. This is why I require anybody who thinks that they need an exorcism, I require them to have a psychological evaluation. It is non-negotiable. And in fact, it can be challenging to differentiate sometime between psychological illnesses and outside influences like an attack. Demonic influences has been broken down into 3 observable phrases, but really there's another phrase to this as well, or phase. There's demonic infestation. Then there's demonic oppression, demonic obsession, and then possession. Thank you, Swiper. Okay, so let's talk about demonic infestation, because I'm going to break these down to give you an idea of what they look like, because people ask me this a million times. And I'll tell you again. So moderators on TikTok, if you could just remind them that I'll open up the chat to everybody at 8 p.m. And thank you, Tom. All right, so here's some indicators of a possible demonic infestation. Somewhere that feels creepy. Your body is telling you something is wrong. You might feel like you really don't want to be there all alone, although you can't sometimes figure out why. It's a place there where sometimes there have been many deaths or tragic events. Deaths might be suspicious, but not always so. A place where there are suddenly several bad traffic accidents, for example, it might have been suddenly infested by a demonic. Places where businesses have even gone bankrupt in the same location over and over and over. A place where phenomena happen. Thumping noises, the remote controls flying across the air, or the room, the power constantly going on and off, the whining or howling sounds, so on. Sometimes you'll smell sulfur, and that because it refers to the lake of sulfur in Revelation as a form of mockery. Sometimes there will be the putrid smell. It's a place where people who normally feel fine instead feel lots of negative emotions. Thank you for subscribing. Sometimes people feel heavy, depressed, thinking lots of negative thoughts about themselves, and so on. This has happened a lot to paranormal investigators. Now, this happens quite a bit, so you need to listen to this carefully. Paranormal investigators will go out to a location that's known to be demonically infested. And is anyone here? Can you make a noise? Can you do something? That's a form of invitation. Now they have what's called a demonic attachment. What happens is they take that home and they begin to start having thoughts that are not there. They would never, ever, ever normally think these things. Now, for example, one person told me that, their dog, their little fur baby, and she referred to them as and that was her baby, that she began having violent thoughts about harming her fur baby. And this is a form of oppression. This is when the demonic will attach itself and will infiltrate the thought process. So that's a part of the intellect. So it's breaking down the intellect of the person. And we're talking violent. A person who would never, ever hurt a fly, let alone the fur baby, goodness gracious. But this has happened. I can't tell you how many times this has happened where paranormal investigators come to me and say, tell me what's going on here. Why am I having these thoughts? So when a demonic attaches itself to you, that's of course attachment. But demonic infestation that's what when you go home, you have an infestation, because you automatically if you have an attachment and you come home, the infestation is already there. And so that's when you'll have the bangings of 3, the knocking of the 3, sometimes ectoplasm, which is kind of a gooey substance at times. Sometimes the religious objects will be desecrated. Well, many times religious objects are desecrated. So a crucifix could be thrown across the room or catch fire. As a matter of fact, I had a case where I was performing the minor rite of exorcism. And again, there's no such thing as performing an exorcism on a home. That doesn't exist. You can't do that. It's not possible. You don't perform an exorcism on a home. The home it's not possessed. The home is infested. There's a big difference. Only a person can be possessed. So what happens is when that person is possessed, then you have the solemn rite of exorcism. The minor rite of exorcism is a blessing on a home to expel the demonic or malevolent spirit that has infested itself within that home or building. Okay? So there's no such thing. So you bless the home. You perform the minor rite on the entity that's infested itself within the home. All right. So what happens is you have an attachment, you come home, now you're having these thoughts that are not normally yours. And so the demonic, through that, with that attachment, the demonic began to attack your intellect and your will. So now the thoughts are very aggressive. And you recognize this. You recognize this. And happens to a lot of people. I'm telling you, it happens to a lot of folks. So demonic oppression is thinking thoughts which are technically not, you would never think. Or sometimes even sudden depression would come on, severe. There could be having arguments with your loved ones, a feeling of hopelessness. And then there's a stage called demonic obsession. And demonic obsession is when it begins to attack you on an intellectual level. So demonic oppression attacks you physically, biting, scratching, pinching you. Okay, it's past sleep deprivation. You are completely exhausted, totally exhausted. Your immune is compromised, and you're terrified. Every single night you see horrible figures, ghastly figures, as Annalise Mikel actually explained. But these things are terrifying, and many times it can occur through sleep paralysis episodes too, to break down the person's will, because that's very frightening. Well, thank you very much, Thomas J. So what it's doing is trying to break down the will of the person. Then it begins to interact with you. So it begins to talk to you, and you hear its voice, and it mimics schizophrenia, and you actually think you're going crazy. But it begins to say horrible things to you. It's trying to break down, at that time, the intellect. So once the intellect and will has been eradicated, now keep in mind, the person is at a very vulnerable state. All right. So they have been attacked viciously and violently. Then you have what's called demonic possession. Now, there are two types of possession. Thank you there, Jax, for letting people know. There are two types of possession. There is perfect possession, and that is where the individual is in a constant stage of possession. There's no relief for the body. So the body is under constant attack, as well as the intellect. And then there's called transient possession, and that's when the demonic will enter the body and leave at will. But keep in mind, the person still remains in transient possession. When the demonic leaves the body, the person is still under demonic oppression and demonic obsession attacks. So it's still attacking the intellect and the will of the person, because it doesn't. Once the person strengthens their intellect and will, they can fight back. So demonic is not going to do that, because they're prey. So they're just going to keep biting and keep biting and keep biting to weaken, quite honestly, the victim. So they're not going to step away to let the victim get strong again just to be able to fight back. They won't do that. If possession already take place and you have transient possession, it'll leave the body, but it'll still be attacking them. And that's what happened with Annalise Mikel. Oh, they can, Michael, depending on the situation. Michael's asking, can demons jump into people? They certainly can. But there's a lot of people, in cases like that, Michael, you have infestation, you have invitation. So there's invitation, and there's a concept, because you're basically, quite honestly, I've had cases where a person gave the invitation for a demonic to enter their bodies for channeling. So when you do that, there's no need to break down the intellect and will of the person. There's no need, because you've already given them complete invitation. So there are people, believe it or not, I'm not kidding you. I'll promise you, Skip to Grace, I'll promise you, I'll get your question. I promise you. But here's the problem. When a person gives the invitation, and they are allowing the demonic to use their body as a vessel, because there are people on social media who are purposely trying to get possessed. If you can figure that out, then we'll both understand. And hello, everybody. Welcome to the presentation. So demonic possession, obviously, we talked about that. Now, the demonic haunting is especially frightening to individuals that experiences it. It truly is. And not only the individual, but also the families, because the families are seeing their loved ones being attacked viciously and they can't do anything about it. Now they can fight back and they can push. But I mean, ultimately, if possession takes place, you have to get clergy involved. There, and let me make this very, very, very clear, and I've said this a million times, there is absolutely no good when it comes to demonic spirits. There's no such thing. It's like there's no such thing. It's like saying I'm half human. There's no such thing as a good demonic entity. They don't exist. And the idea that you think that you're going to change the nature of a demonic entity is very, very dangerous, and it's erroneous, because remember, they were in the presence of God and they still freely reject God completely. So to think that now we're going to do something that God couldn't do, which is change their mind, that absolutely will get you into big trouble. Big trouble. It can. It can, Claus. So naturally, the spirit that haunts in this type of haunting will not be human. In many instances, a haunting that fit in the category, it was noted that paranormal events were relatively small. However, as time progressed, so did the hauntings, and it got violent. So demonic entities many times will start in a subtle way. And I will tell you this, in every single, and I'm not, people may disagree with me, and that's fine. We can agree to disagree. But I've been doing this now for over 20 years. And I investigate, through the years, thousands of cases. But I can tell you this, in every single case where there was a child involved, a child spirit, 100% was demonic. Now, again, you can say, well, I'm not, so therefore, here's what I'm not going to say. I'm not going to make a universal statement that says every single haunting that has a child in spirit involved is demonic, because I can't say that, because I don't know every single haunting that has a child spirit involved. But I can tell you this, 100% of the cases that I have worked as an exorcist, when it comes to a child spirit, 100% has been demonic. And I have thousands and thousands of requests. I have 12,281 emails, people asking for my help right here from the ministry email. And I have over 14,000 now, actually close to 15,000 on TikTok, and 932 messages on Messenger. So I investigate a lot of cases, and 100% where it involves child spirits, it was demonic. So you can take that as you wish, and that's fine. So let's talk then about Annalise Michel, because I think it's important to understand what happened. And Annalise Michel, otherwise, you know the story of Annalise Michel, or Emily Rose. Now, in 1968, here's what happened. And so let me just break this down and give you a better idea. In 1968, when she was 17, she was still in high school, Annalise began to suffer from convulsions. And the court findings have her experiencing her first epileptic attack actually in 1969. And I have all the case file. I have a massive case file on Annalise Michel. And it's pretty graphic. A neurologist at that time diagnosed her with grand mal epilepsy. And what happened was that she began experiencing what she would call devilish hallucinations while praying. Every time while she was praying, she would have these, she would describe them also as ghastly figures. She began to hear voices. That's a form of obsession. So it's breaking down the intellect, which told her that she was damned forever. And in 1973, she actually was suffering from depression. In 1975, she was absolutely convinced that she was possessed. And her parents gave up on the doctors, said, that's it, we're done for the psychiatric clinic. And they chose to rely strictly 100% on the exorcism. So for those of you who don't know the real case of Annalise Mikel, throughout history, um, those that practice religion professionally and paranormal researchers have been introduced to the real demonic hauntings that have provided us with information on what happens when this takes place. So The Exorcism of Emily Rose, it was released in the year of 2005, the movie. Many parts, there were parts that were enhanced. But the real story is Annalise Mikel. She was born in 1952, on September 21st in Germany. And she died on July 1st in 1976. Now, her official cause of death is considered to be dehydration, malnutrition, dehydration. She was only 24 years old. That's it. Many people believe, as do I, that she suffered from very personal demonic attacks. So in the 1968, as I mentioned, she started experiencing unexplained convulsions. And she was diagnosed with grand mal epilepsy. She was a very, very religious young woman. And but after her diagnosis, she would pray, and then she would experience these hallucinations that were terrifying, she said. And she began hearing voices that were very negative and telling her she'll never be loved, that God will never love her. That is a form of what's called demonic obsession. So demonic oppression is when it begins to attack the will, and demonic obsession is when it begins to attack the intellect. So in 1973, she became very, very, very depressed, and she almost decided to give up. And in 1975, her family believed she was suffering with possession, and decided to have a priest come over to perform an exorcism. Now, the family did not reach the conclusion that the young woman was experiencing demonic possession on their own. Annalise had attended a religious pilgrimage with a woman, with the church that they had been a part of, and during that event, she recognized a lot of strange things in Annalise. So when Annalise would walk close to an image displayed of Christ, she had this major repulsion by it. And then there was a holy spring of water. She didn't want to drink from it, that a lot of people would drink from it because they believed it had healing properties. And so she just completely rebelled and rejected 100%. Thank you. Rejected 100% from Christianity. She didn't want nothing to do with it. So the family approached clergy, and finally they asked the bishop to do it, and he said, okay. Now, there were several possessions or several demons who said that they're possessing Annalise. So first of all, there was Lucifer, Hitler, Judas Iscariot, Fleischmann, Nero, Cain. There are several others, even the devil himself. Now, I have the whole entire transcripts of the exorcisms, and it's very common, very, very common for a demon to try to frighten the exorcist by saying that they're Lucifer himself. That's very, very common. And so despite the fact, and that happens. Now, while the people in Annalise's life tried diligently to assist her in overcoming these demonic attacks, they couldn't do it. And they prayed over her, and they just couldn't release it. So there was a priest named Father Arnold Renz and Pastor Ernst Alt. And even her parents, Anna and Joseph. So in the end, all four of these individuals, by the way, were found guilty of a charge called negligent homicide. And they ordered to do time in their local prison for 6 months and ordered probation for last of 3 years. And they should have. What they did was wrong. What they did was absolutely wrong. And because I think we have to be honest, if I'm going to be honest with you, this is why I said this really isn't for kids. Because I'm going to tell you a couple things that she did that was not in the movies. And because, again, I want to be straightforward with you. All right. Despite the fact that the local government officials, they observed her very, very bizarre behavior, even uncontrollable behavior. She was screaming for hours at a time, the highest pitch you can possibly think of. She would rip her clothes from her body. She would consume her own urine. She would eat insects. And she would do other things as well, which I'm not going to mention. This, and people ask me, which is mind-boggling, why I never ever film an exorcism and put it on social media. Because you wouldn't want clergy to do that to your family. You wouldn't want clergy to do that to your family member. I performed 30 exorcisms in 20 years. Thank you. 30 exorcisms. Some of them have been very violent. And some of the things that have occurred in some of these exorcisms, I would never ever want anyone to see my loved ones. I just wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't want anyone a family member to see one of my. I wouldn't want the world to see a family member do with what I've seen some people do, who are possessed because they weren't in control. And thank you there. I appreciate that. Now, here's the deal. It's believed that most demonic hauntings are often labeled as a mental illness and schizophrenia. And unfortunately, many feel that there are a number of individuals that are in fact possessed, but are not given the right of blessing or exorcism. And there's a reason for that. So there's a reason why we don't rush to perform exorcisms, because you need to make sure that the individual is truly suffering with an actual possession and perhaps maybe not something else. She can be possessed, and she can absolutely have a mental illness as well. Now, keep in mind, here's a couple of things you may not know. She underwent Catholic exorcisms in the rites in 1975, and she died the next year due to a lack of medical care. As I mentioned, she died from, she was malnourished. She was dehydrated. And the reason being is because she would regurgitate violently. That is common during an exorcism, certainly during possession, because remember, the demonic is still attacking the will of the person. So you have to always remember that. The will and the intellect is constantly at attack. It is never lifted. So if you try to give the person who is possessed substance of life, then the person can become violently ill and they will regurgitate. And so therefore they can become dehydrated very quickly. And this is why I have someone who's medically trained with me to make sure that they're monitoring the vitals of the possessed. So this is serious. I mean, people who are playing exorcist and you don't follow protocol, you could kill somebody, and then you yourself can be charged with negligent homicide. So everybody who's trying to play exorcist today with no training whatsoever, not having anybody who's medically trained, not having a psychological evaluation performed, not doing the background checks, not doing the mental health background checks, not doing the medicine background, not doing anything at all, and just performing an exorcism because you want to. If the person dies or has a heart attack or stroke, that can absolutely happen, because remember, the body can only sustain so much trauma. So the person can go into a stroke and they can go into a heart attack, especially if they're violently regurgitating. So if you don't stop the rite and the person does not stop the regurgitation, then their body could shut down. This is how serious it is. What happened? Here's what is it? People ask, well, she was, as I mentioned, she was mentioned with temporal lobe epilepsy, grand mal epilepsy, and at that time they really didn't have much a way to treat people like that. So but she suffered from depression too because of it, and so she was put in a psychiatric hospital. Now it was there that she actually began describing ghastly figures, seeing these horrible things. And this is not just sleep paralysis. This is during the day she was experiencing. And while she was 20, when she was 20 years old, she became completely just intolerant to religious objects, even though she was a very, very devout Roman Catholic. She went from a devoted Roman Catholic to hating and could not be around any religious objects. And so her family, and even Annalise, was absolutely convinced that it was possession. So the two priests got permission from the local bishop in 1975. They performed exorcism rites on her. You know how long? For 10 months. 10 months. So after her death, Michael's parents and two priests, again, were found guilty of negligent homicide. They were sentenced to 6 months in jail, reduced to 3 years of probation and a fine. That's what they got. Now, here's the problem. Now you say, well, now hold on, Bishop. She wanted it. The families wanted it. Okay. But I'm an exorcist too. She was 23 years old when she died. Now that's a person who's young, who should be strong, who should be vibrant. The cause of death was starvation and dehydration, malnutrition, dehydration. She was 68 pounds when she died. 68. 23-year-old woman, 68 pounds. So you let that sit in for just a second. The exorcist should have immediately said to the family, listen, here's the deal. You can't fight this. Your body can't fight this. You're at a very vulnerable state. We have to stop and get you medical treatment. At least we have to get the body strong again. When they saw her at 68, when they saw her at less than 100 pounds, they should have stopped immediately. They should not have continued. That's why I don't understand it. I understand her family was very devout. I understand the being devoted. They were devout. I get it. And they didn't want any more medicine. They didn't want any more. I get it. But still, the priest should have seen that, okay, she's deteriorating rapidly. We have to stop. We have to at least get her some type of medical treatment to strengthen the body. They didn't. 68 pounds. Bishop Joseph Stengel granted the priest Arnold Rentz permission to exercise the demonic, or in this situation, order total secrecy. And Arnold Rentz and priest Ernst Alt performed the first session on September the 24th. Her parents stopped seeking medical treatment. That's it. They didn't want any medical treatment. 67 exorcism sessions. It was about 1 or 2 each week. Lasting, get this, lasting up to 4 hours. 4 hours. They were performed on her about from a 10-month span. So they had 1 to 2 exorcisms per week, lasting up to 4 hours. Again, I totally understand the family wanting the exorcism. I get it. Totally understand that. I have no objections with that. But I do object to the priest seeing that this is a person who was 68 pounds and they continue the rite and continue performing it for 4 hours straight. Well, Father Gabriel Morth, actually, well, he did, Michael, and he also, which I disagree with, Michael, he performed an exorcism, I think it was on 2020. And he should have never done that. Never. That to me, the Vatican should have never approved that. So Gabriel Morth actually performed an exorcism on someone on 2020. It's 1986. Yep. Thank you, Jennifer. 1986. So it's amazing how so many people like to attack me and my ministry, but I never once, never have I ever, never will I ever perform an exorcism on anybody on camera for any reason whatsoever. None. Would never do it. Never, ever do it. So I just find that very interesting. But by the way, for those of you who want to know, Annalise's mother, Anna, she really didn't support. She didn't want the movie to be made. She didn't like the idea of the exorcism of Emily Rose. She said, I just don't want it. She didn't want anything to do with it. And which I understand that, but still. And again, they were found guilty, but just basically let off the hook. Now, some people say that Annalise, now here's for the hater gators, because there's always going to be, so I have to be fair. People are going to say, well, she kind of copied off the Exorcist 1973 movie. Well, some people say that that's what she did. Remember, it was released in Germany in 1974, 2 years prior to the audio tapings that I'll be playing a little bit of it today. Now, even though the voice, her voice is very, very, it's quite terrible. And some people think that she was mimicking from the movie to get attention, but that doesn't make any sense because she gained nothing from it. She gained absolutely nothing from it. So I just don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. So there's several. She ate flies. She ate spiders. She ate coal from the fireplace. She actually, she didn't do it. The demonic did. She bit off the head of a dead bird. And she began crawling under a table and barking like a dog for 2 days. She would scream just scream horribly. And ripping off her clothes and urinating on the floor was a common occurrence for her. And so obviously, look, the exorcism took a toll on Annalise's body. I mean, now here's what a lot of people don't know. In the movie, The Exorcism of Emily Rose, do you remember when she was the actress was kneeling and then standing and then clamming and standing and slam? That actually did happen. So what was testified in court by the priest and her family is that they tried to hold her shoulders down to keep her down, but while she was trying to pray the rosary, the demonic would lift her body and slam it on the hardwood floors. And they couldn't keep her down. I mean, so they had two priests and her mom and her dad was trying to keep her shoulders down, but it would just pick her up and slam her down, pick her up and slam her down. The ligaments in her knees actually ruptured because during this, as a sign of mockery. So when we're by a tabernacle has the Blessed Sacrament, the body of Christ, communion, for those people who may not know. And that's in the tabernacle. Tabernacle is like a square box or something. Sometimes it's a metal gold box. She would genuflect when she was doing the rosary and several other prayers. And the demonic, as a form of mockery, would pick her up and slam her on the hardwood floors. And I'll get questions in a second. Hold on, Mike. I'll get questions in a second. And so she actually did 600 genuflections. 600. Thank you there, Alan. Now, her cartilage in her knees were completely destroyed. So she lost the ability to walk. But 600 genuflections. And that was both knees. So both knees is considered double genuflection. And on June 30th, in 1976, during her the last rite of exorcism she did, she was so weak. She was emaciated. I mean, she couldn't do the genuflections anymore on her own. And so, but her parents stood and helped her up through the motions. I don't understand. There were no doctors present during the exorcisms. Now, in the film, that's what people get confused about. In the film, there's an exorcism. There's a doctor there, and no. Around Easter time of the year that she died, Annalise began to refuse food and drink. So her convulsions returned with great ferocity. No doctors were called because the family refused to do it. And now to be fair, Father Rentz and Pastor Alt and the parents would they tried to force feed Annalise a week before her death. But they wouldn't do it. So, they tried allegedly they tried to feed her, but they should have stopped it and force fed her, and they did not. A lot of people are wondering, why did she stop eating? Well, because remember, the demonic is trying to keep the intellect and will down. But she also during transient possession, when she was no longer under the stage of possession, as far as being possessed, still under oppression and obsession, the second stage, she forced herself to fast because she believed that it would rid her of Satan's influence. And so that's, it's a sad, it's her last words, for those of you who don't know, is on the verge of death. She told her exorcist, beg for absolution. And then she looked to her mom and said, "Mother, I'm afraid." And those were her last words. Keep in mind, this is an individual who was very, very, very devoted to the Catholic Church, her Catholic faith. She had 3 sisters. And matter of fact, her father, Joseph, even considered being trained in the priesthood. 3 of her aunts, by the way, were nuns. And so, but what was interesting, here's what a lot of people, here's what her family kind of think. Before Annalise was born, her mom, Annalise's mom, gave birth to an illegitimate daughter named Martha. So her mom suffered a tremendous amount of shame because of that. And so she actually wore a black veil on her wedding day, and because of that. And so her mother, when Annalise was a child, her mom encouraged Annalise to atone for the sins of illegitimacy through devoted devotion to the church. So I get that. I mean, there was some extreme. I think there was some extremism there. Annalise's sister, by the way, Martha, she died at the age of 8. There was a kidney tumor, and so they had to remove that kidney tumor. And this, by the way, only likely increased the intensity to become obsessed with penance for her mom, because they believed that her mom was being punished by having an illegitimate daughter out of wedlock. And then when Annalise's sister Martha died at 8 years old, they were actually even more convinced that they were being punished for it. So Annalise believed that it was her responsibility to do penance on behalf of her mom, so that her mother could no longer suffer from her sins. And she continued to suffer in her mind as atonement sins for others. Annalise, because I think it's important to give you a background story of her. She actually slept on a bare stone floor to atone for the sins of wayward priests and even drug addicts. And so she actually slept on hardwood floors to atone for their. And in college, she had a lot of saints in her room, in dorm room. She kept a holy water font near the door, which that's not unusual for, especially at that time, for Catholics. She regularly prayed the rosary. Again, that's normal. Even close to her death, she actually spoke for the atonement of the sins of the world, of the wayward youth and renegade priests. So she believed that her suffering was an atonement for the sins of others, because that is how she was brought up. No. See, and that's a good question, but the immediate question is, why didn't God save her? I think God tried to save her, because many times medical personnel tried to intervene and help the family, but the family rejected their help. They didn't want any part of it, because they believed devoutly that the rite of exorcism is what she needed. And they even got to the point of saying, well, okay, we're not even going to feed her. If she doesn't want to eat, we're not going to even force feed her. They have free will. So God's not going to force his will on you. So either God's going to give you free will or not. There can't be sort of free will It can't be 80% free will, then it's not free will. So she chose to reject any type of medical treatment because she believed that her suffering was for the benefit of others. That's how because that's what she was taught. And it truly is sad if you think about that, because it's the atonement of sins has already been done through Christ. But she was brought up because of the guilt that her mom had by having a child out of wedlock, and then she lost her sister from a kidney tumor, and so that even increased her belief that she had to atone for other people's sins. So her suffering, she thought of her suffering as an atonement, as a okay, let's taking the curse off other people. Yeah, it's sad. I mean, it's truly it is sad. Now, some people ask, well, what about the people? Her body was exhumed. They dug it up after her death. Well, actually, that's true. That's a true story. So if you've heard about that, that's a true story. And it came in 1978, I believe, and I think it was in February. It was 2 years after her death. It was dug up and moved to a new oak coffin lined with tin. So her parents' desire to move her from the cheap coffin in which she was buried was allegedly used as an excuse to exhume her body, because her parents said that they wanted to dig her up to put her in a better coffin. But actually, that's not truly why they dug her up. Why they dug her up is because there was a Carmelite nun who had actually sent a message to the family, and in southern Bavaria. And the nun actually told the family, that she had a vision that her body, that Annalise's body was still intact. It had not deteriorated. That is one, and here's why that's important, because that is one way to show that someone is a saint. Because there have been people who've died, who've been buried back, and then there's no deterioration of the body at all. It's like they were just buried yesterday, and it could be 2, 3, 4, 5 years later. So this nun believed that she was a saint, Annalise Michel. And so this nun from Bavaria actually told her family this, and her family then dug her up, and on the premise that they wanted to bury her into a more expensive coffin. Well, here's the problem. Official reports state that the body did show consistent deterioration. So the Carmelite nun was incorrect. The body was deteriorating. It was rotting. There's no photos, obviously, so yeah, it's pretty sad thing. But there's several movies that's on Annalise. That's not just that. But yeah, it's a sad story about Annalise Michel. Now, the case of Robbie Manham, his name is Robbie Manham. He was the little boy of the movie The Exorcist. And in 2015, with the Travel Channel, the family who was living at the Exorcist house in St. Louis, asked me to go there to perform the minor rite of exorcism. And here's why. I couldn't say it then because I was under contract, but I could say it now. The family contacted me and said, because there was this big show there, the Exorcism Live on the Travel Channel. Chip Coffey was there. He's a friend of mine. And so we said, okay, they contacted me. They said, look, we want you to perform the minor rite of exorcism. And the reason being is because the wife was pregnant. And she was very uncomfortable with bringing a child into the house of the exorcist. She didn't like the idea. I understand that. So then the family contacted me and asked if I would be willing to perform the minor rite of exorcism. Now, the show was Exorcism Live. I can't control how they're going I can't control how they're going to name the show. I didn't have, they named the Exorcism Live. But it was the minor rite of exorcism. It was a house blessing. And what was interesting is there was a particular Catholic church that some clergy were pretty nasty and very aggressive with their attacks on me and trying to discredit. And it was pretty nasty. It was really, really actually disturbing. And I thought, I'm doing a house blessing. It's a house blessing, folks. I'm not performing an exorcism on anybody. It's a house blessing. But yeah, you should take a look if you haven't seen it. Some of the things are insane. Some of the comments on you can go Google it. It was nasty. It was really, really nasty. But now Roland Doe, for those of you who don't know, Roland Doe. So I went to the Exorcist house, and if I can find some, let me see if I can show you some pictures, because I'll be happy to show that to you. So hang tight with me. Let me see if I can find it for you, because there were pictures that I took while I was on there. It was eerie, man. It was eerie, folks. I'm telling you, it was one of those things where when I went in the house, there was no ifs, ands, or buts. No, I mean, there was unbelievably uncomfortable. The feeling was just like, okay, no. This is not normal. This is not normal. And it was not. So let me just, I'm trying to, I do have it. So hold on. Okay, so I'm going to put it up here. And I'm going to put them down there. And then I'm going to have to save them. So just bear with me. I promise you, I'll show you. And then I'll explain because this is actually in the house. But I've got to, I'll just put all of them over there. I'll show you all of them. And I'll have to show you them on my phone. TikTok, I'll have to show those to you on the phone, as well as Instagram. Instagram, keep in mind, it might cut you guys off. Because after an hour, I think after a live, it cuts you off. So just keep in mind, Instagram, at any moment, it could cut you off. So if you do, I'll come back. Don't worry. So let me just add these to the iPhoto. Okay. And then I can show you guys in just a second. Okay. So let me show Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and KGRADB Radio. Let me show you guys this picture. Settings. Nope, I don't want to go to settings. I want to go to present. And I want to go to share screen. Okay. You don't need to do that. Just go to what? Go to Chrome has lost permission to capture your screen. To fix this, go to System Preferences. Oh, for heaven's sakes. Come on. Unlock this screen by selecting the lock in the bottom left. Oh, for heaven's sake. This is just, you know what? Sometimes, I don't want to leave the site. Okay, I'm not going to do that, because if I do that, then I don't know why. Anyway, I'll show everybody this way. For some reason, it's just being silly. Okay. Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that. Okay. Okay, stop. Well, that's weird. Yeah, it's not wanting to load. We'll have to figure out why it's not wanting to load. No, I don't believe it's possessed. People on Messenger asking, do you think your phone's possessed? No, I don't think his phone's possessed. I think this thing is acting wonky. It might take a little bit of time. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Okay, I'll figure it out later. But anyway, when you go to this, it's not a big house. And what was interesting when I went to this place, an Exorcism Live. Thank you. It was it's a small, tight neighborhood. It's crammed, and I thought it was going to be like a ghost adventure show. And because I thought this was going to be like 3 or 4 people there with live cameras, and I thought that's what it was. When I showed up there were 10 massive semi trucks. Now, in the back of the house was this big, huge production set. And I thought, thank you very much. And I thought, what in the world have I gotten myself into? Because I had no idea it was going to be that big. It never crossed my mind. But Booth Brothers were there as well. And they're fantastic. If you don't know the Booth Brothers, they are really, really fantastic guys. And I would strongly encourage you to check them out. I've been on several of their documentaries. The possessed boy, I think it's the haunted boy. No, the haunted boy. The haunted boy is about the exorcism, the true story of the Exorcist, of the movie The Exorcist. And if you have not seen that, you might want to check it out. I can't share it. I don't know why it's being stupid. It's just kind of being difficult with me, so I can't share the pictures. And I don't want to leave, because if I leave, then yeah, I'll have to do that later. Yeah, I'll because I don't want to do it now. Okay. So anyway, he was born in 1935, and a lot of people know him as the Roland Doe case. And here's how it all started. This is how it all started. His aunt was very, very devoted in spiritualism, and she taught him how to use the Ouija board. And she had passed away. And so when she passed away, he was distraught because he truly loved his aunt. I mean, he loved his aunt. And so he thought it would be a good idea to use the Ouija board to try to contact his aunt. Well, he got an answer, and he thought he was speaking to his aunt, but he was not. And it was shortly after the use of the Ouija board that he then began having violent activities in his home. So because she taught him how to do it, and she really his aunt Harriet. Harriet was her name. She treated Robbie, that's the actual name of the individual who's Robbie Manning, more like a special friend than a nephew. She loved, like I said, she loved spiritualism. Nothing wrong with that. But when she passed away, it destroyed him. And so there was a lot of activity. They were hearing scratches on the walls, and they just immediately thought it might have been a rat or a mouse. But then it began on January 26, 11 days after the beginning of the scratching sounds. Robbie's aunt died actually in St. Louis. He devastated Robbie. And so he tried to contact her using a Ouija board. And the activity began squeaky shoes, the sounds of squeaky shoes. Sometimes he would describe them as marching feet and other strange noises. Furniture began to move on its own. Ordinary objects, like a vase flew. Sometimes it even levitated. Now, according to Reverend Walter Holleran, he said he saw streaks and arrows of words such as hell appear on the boy's skin, and blessed objects such as like a container of holy water, which were placed near him, smashed to the ground on their own. So when we say desecration of religious objects, that's what we're talking about. And but keep in mind, this was the activity was not just in Robbie's rooms. This was it seemed to wherever he went. So when he was at school, and people actually testified, they actually said this happened when he went to school. Robbie's desk allegedly lurched into the aisle and began skittering about, banging the desk and other classmates. And his feet were, he wasn't doing it. And there were 48 witnesses came forward to say that they saw this. Well, thank you very much for subscribing. Now, according to Reverend Schultz, to the Evening Star, the Washington, D.C. newspaper, the boy was examined by both medical and psychiatric doctors. They offered they couldn't explain it. They couldn't explain it at all. And so the family then turned to their Lutheran clergyman to help. And so the clergyman then allowed the boy to stay the night in February 17th to observe him, because he wanted to bring him to a sacred ground. That was the idea. That was the thought. And the boy slept, and the minister, he slept in a twin bed, and the minister reported that in the dark, he heard vibrating sounds from the bed, like it was actually shaking, and scratching sounds on the walls. And the rest of the night, allegedly, a heavy armchair in which the boy sat seemingly tilted on its own, tipped over, and a pallet of blankets on which the boy, the sleeping boy, lay, inexplicably moved around the room. So clearly the pastor said, okay, there's something wrong. So what he did is performed a Lutheran rite exorcism on Robbie. And so Robbie allegedly underwent this exorcism under the Anglican Episcopal Church. And after this, the case was referred to Reverend Hughes. He was a Roman Catholic priest. And he examined Robbie at St. James Church. He conducted an exorcism on the 14-year-old boy at Georgetown University, a Jesuit institution. Now, during this exorcism, Robbie inflicted a wound upon the pastor, causing him stitches. And the exorcism ritual was stopped, and the boy went home to his family. The legend is he grabbed a spring from the bed, ripped the spring from the bed. Now, come on. Now, I get Arnold Schwarzenegger may probably not in his prime, maybe not even been able to do that. This is a 14-year-old boy. Ripped the spring and cut him. And so when Robbie went home, he screamed as he saw the word St. Louis written upon his chest in blood. The city where his Aunt Harriet had died. So that's when the family took the train to St. Louis. And while they were in the city, Robbie's cousin contacted one of the pastors at St. Louis University, Raymond Bishop. And he talked to a Reverend Bowdern. He was an associate of College Church. And so both vicars visited Robbie in his relative's home, the home that I saw, where they noticed his aversion to anything sacred, a shaking bed. They saw flying objects, and Robbie speaking in a demonical voice. And so the Reverend Bowdern, then went to his bishop and asked for the solemn rite of exorcism, and the archbishop approved. And so the Bowdern was actually in charge of this, and he kept a detailed diary of this. Which, by the way, you can again go to The Haunted Boy by the Booth brothers. They have a great documentary there. Now, I have the diary. And so the Booth brothers have the diary, copy of the diary. And so you can order the copy of the diary as well. And before the ritual began, Reverend Holleran was called to the psychiatric wing of the hospital, where he was asked to assist Reverend Bowdern in the deliverance. And then Reverend Van Roo, it's a third Jesuit priest, was also there to assist Bowdern. And during the exorcism, Robbie spat in the eyes of the pastors, and Holleran stated that even though Robbie's eyes were closed, keep that in mind. So Robbie, his eyes were not open; they were closed. And during the exorcism, the demonic would spit directly in the eyes of the pastors, with Robbie's eyes closed. And Robbie's bed began to shake violently. They saw a holy water vessel thrown across the room, and then evil and hell appearing on his body. And by the way, Reverend Holleran, Robbie broke his nose. And during the exorcism, he screamed an abnormal tone of voice. And the exorcism ritual to cast out demons from the boy's body was performed 30 times over a period of 2 months. So please understand, this is not a quick fix. So people think that, we're just going to show up there with magic fairy dust and sprinkle it, and that'll be it. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. And so obviously the clerics asked the demons when they were going to flee. Here's why. During the solemn rite of exorcism, there's no such thing as a conversation. That's stupid. We don't have a conversation with the demonic. Nothing. We command in the name of Christ 2 things: its name and the hour of departure. That's the only thing we want to know. Anything else, we have to silence the voice, because there's nothing it's going to say to you that you need to know. So you silence the voice. You silence it through prayer, through sacramentals. You silence it. And so they because and the reason why, well, because once you know the name, then you know that the demonic intellect and will is being eradicated, is being weakened. Now, many times in the beginning, it'll say Lucifer, it'll say Satan, it'll say these names to frighten you, to terrify you, to thinking that you're actually fighting with Lucifer himself. And they do that for a reason, or high seraphim or cherubim or throne. And the legions is often what they use, but these are just parlor tricks to frighten you. And so once the demonic is given its will and intellect up, and it's give its name, it is surrendering. Because the intellect and will of the exorcist and the intellect and will of the demonic are at battle. One will win, one will lose. So we command its name and the hour of departure. And so eventually, Robbie, he said Christus Domini, which is Christ Lord in Latin. And within these words, as soon as he was spoken, there were reports of a loud noise, like a thunderclap or a shotgun, throughout the floors of the entire hospital. Everybody heard it. And at that time, then Robbie said, "It's over." And that's how, that is how The Exorcist, the true story of The Exorcist and Anneliese Michel began. I know that was an overview. I could easily spend 5 hours just on Anneliese Michel, on her case, and 5 hours easy on Robbie's case. But obviously, with time permitting, I tried to give as much as I could, as fast as I could. Okay. I was wondering, it's like, it's awfully warm in here. There. All right. So hopefully that kind of gives you information. So I open it up to everybody on TikTok. If you would like to, ask questions, you certainly can do so. I ask that please consider, subscribing. We would appreciate the subscribers, and we thank you for the gifts. Thank you. How can I protect myself from possession? Well, people ask that all the time. First of all, don't do anything that's going to cause an invitation. Just don't do anything that's going to cause an invitation. Because the moment that you do is the moment you put yourself into some serious trouble. So that's what you don't want to do. And so how do you do that? Well, how do you invite? Well, and again, I'm not a fan. I have said this before, and I'll say it again. And I know might be some people who disagree, and that's fine. They can disagree, but I'm not going to change my mind on it. I don't like Ouija boards at all. There's nothing good that's going to come from a Ouija board. Nothing. And people say to me all the time, "Well, I've used it all my life and nothing's ever happened." Okay, fine, yet. Because demons exist outside of time and space. So just because it doesn't happen now doesn't mean it's not going to happen 5-10 years from now, when you're sick and elderly and affirmed. So I tell people, just leave it alone. And here's you got to remember this here. No, listen, this is why you should stay away from Ouija boards. The difference between EVPs, digital recorders, and Ouija boards is huge. And let me tell you why. With a digital recorder, when you do an investigation, you say, "Is there anyone here? What's your name? Blah, blah, blah." You play it back and you hear the response. Now, that can absolutely be a form of invitation when it gives you a name of Jane or John or whatever. "Okay, John, what are you doing? Who are you? Blah, blah." And then that's communication. That is totally different than when you use a Ouija board and you have a little planchet. Remember, you have the little planchet on the board, and you place your hands on the planchet. Now, what you're doing is you are giving the spirit with whom you are speaking with permission to manipulate your hands. Why would anybody do that? That is beyond I can't comprehend that. I can't. That doesn't make sense to me. Makes no sense. Because everybody says, "I'm not moving it. I'm not moving it." Somebody's moving it. Now, sometimes, obviously, it could be someone doing it, playing, but there have been cases where people have absolutely something, they would swear on the Bible that something controlled their hand movement and it spelled it out. So you're giving a spirit whom you don't know who you're speaking with, you're giving them permission to possess your motor function. That's not very bright. Now, you don't have to be an Einstein. You don't have to be a Mensa member to know that that's not very bright to do. I don't understand why someone would do that. I just don't get it. But people do, and they do it all the time, and they think there's nothing wrong with it. It's preposterous to think that you're going to give permission to a spirit whom you have no idea the identity of, and you're going to give them permission to control your body? Explain that to me, folks. Explain the logic as to why you would, because I don't get it. Well, who are the spirits? Well, that's a great question. Claire, we just simply don't know. I have found, and this is just from my perspective, okay, Claire, and this is my perspective, I have found that not all hauntings, and if you're a paranormal investigator, I think you'll agree with me, especially if you're a seasoned investigator. And if you're a seasoned investigator, do me a favor, say yes or no if you agree. But I have personally found that not every case where you have a demonic, or you have a haunting, where you have activity, not every case is demonic. It just simply is not. I have had many cases where I believe it was a human spirit. It was perhaps a loved one that was just letting them know, hey, look, I'm here. I'm okay. I have found that. See, now there are people, George is saying yes. David's saying yes. True, Crafty is saying yes. Ashley is saying yes. So, and these are, and again, I ask people who are, if you're a paranormal investigator, can you validate that? And if you disagree, tell me. But so yes, okay, yes, okay. So Laura said no, but it's not so yes. Yeah, but what I'm saying, every case, there are people. Well, here's what I'm trying to say. So I don't want to confuse people. That's a good question, user, about Annalise. What provoked her possession? I'll answer it in just a second. What I'm saying is there are people who believe every single haunting is demonic. That's what they're saying. I disagree with that. I just don't agree with it. I don't believe every single haunting is demonic. So that's what I don't. And I think if you're a paranormal investigator, and if you're a seasoned paranormal investigator who actually goes out and investigate, you'll know what I'm talking about. How many cases are that's a good question. Look, demonic possession is rare. There is rare, folks. Remember, I have performed 30 in over 2 decades. Now, of course, I put people through the ringer, but I should, because that's the thing you should do. The ringer meaning I cross the T's, I dot the I's. Here's what you need to know. 1, are they on any type of medication that could cause hallucination? Because there are some side effects to medications that can cause that. So we have a person who's medically trained that can tell us yes or no. So we get a list of their medications. I have to know this, because there are some medications that do cause hallucinations. 2, does the individual have a history of mental illness, or does the family have a history of perhaps schizophrenia? Again, we need to know. 3, thank you, Joe. Also, is the person, are they willing to undergo a psychiatric evaluation by a licensed mental health therapist in whatever state that's licensed, wherever they live? I require that. That's non-negotiable. So we have to make sure that we are eliminating all the logical explanations for possession, because possession is the last thing that I consider. Absolute last thing. So yeah, someone was asking about what causes what caused Annalise McKell for the possibility of her possession since she was so devout. I think, and that's a great question. There's a lot of theologians who debate, and even exorcists in our little private circle that we speak, because we have a small group that we speak to about cases. For my personal opinion, I think that there was some form of psychological trauma that, this is my opinion, based on her mom placing so much heaviness and weight on Annalise's responsibility to atone for people's sins. And I think because of that trauma, and especially losing her sister when she was 8 years old, her 8-year-old sister to kidney tumor, that only amplified Annalise's idea, and I think even paranoia, and that she has to atone for everybody's sins. And I think because of that, that was a weakened intellect and a state in which that remember, the closer you get to God, the harder the devil works against you. So if you're at a vulnerable state already, and you hold on to that weight, that burden that you are responsible for atoning for people's sins, that's really what many theologians that I've spoken to, who have advanced degrees, who've been in graduate school, who've performed quite a few exorcisms themselves, that's what we all kind of agree with. Because we try to debate as far as what could cause it. She never did anything for invitation. There was never a form of invitation. So that's the only thing we can think of. So generational curses are interesting. There's the theory of generational curses differ from investigator to investigator, and even to an exorcist and exorcist. And I'm not 100% sold on generational curses. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but a generational curse refers to a belief. It's a belief system that certain negative patterns or behaviors can pass down from one generation to another within a family. And it's often seen as a spiritual or supernatural phenomenon where the actions or sins of our ancestors have an ongoing impact on future generations because we continue the actions of our ancestors because of this generational curse. The curse is believed to manifest in various forms, such as like addiction, poverty, failed relationships, recurring health issues. Some people may seek spiritual or religious interventions to break these generational patterns, to find healing or freedom. It's important now, but to be fair, it's important to note that generational curses is primarily rooted in certain cultural or religious beliefs. I have found, and this is my opinion as an exorcist, I have found that when you pray a prayer of deliverance over an individual to remove that negativity, I have also suggested that when families feel that they have this generational curses, one, your mantra should always be, "I will not be your victim." That is my mantra every day. So if I feel that the demonic is trying to attack me and try to break me down, my mantra, I will not be your victim. You're not going to victimize me, because the moment that I begin to pray is the moment you begin to tremble. Not the other way around. So we have to remember, God is here, demons are here, folks. Stop putting demons here. Just like I said on the Eli Roth Presents Legion of Exorcists show that was on the Travel Channel. And I love the show. I don't know about season 2 yet, folks. I have not heard if there's a season 2, but I promise you, you have victims. Okay, well, and Farmer, and the difference between me and you is I'm willing to actually go public and do this, and you're not. So, bye-bye, princess. Sorry, I had a block a troll. Again, trolls, you're not going to get under my skin. Because trolls, like I said, in the beginning of the show, trolls attack people who have the courage to go on social media and present their life. See, trolls don't have that courage to do that. But what the trolls do is stand behind their computer and attack people who do have the courage to go on social media and present themselves and say, "This is me, this is who I am." So a troll actually is an individual who's suffering from a psychological illness to where they don't have the ability or strength themselves to go on social media and put themselves out there, because they themselves know that they can't attack the viciousness from other trolls. So keep shining bright, my friends. Keep shining bright. So what I do is I agree. What I do is I pray the a prayer of deliverance. I also I encourage people to bless their home, the epiphany of the doors. I see nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. Well, thank you very much, Diane. I see nothing wrong with smudging. As a matter of fact, I did a presentation on smudging and the actual benefits of smudging, the physiological benefits. So I don't have a problem. My grandmother's Cherokee. She was full Cherokee. I have no problem with smudging. None. Now, that's different now. Is it a sacramental? No. However, that's different. But I have no issue. It stinks. I think smudging kind of stinks, to be honest with you. I prefer smoke. I prefer, obviously, holy incense, but that's me. So what you can do is a prayer of deliverance to remove that negative attachment. And I've also found that when I talk to the person and I hook them up with someone who is a counselor, who can actually talk to them about perhaps maybe trauma that they themselves have undergone in their life, that helps tremendously. Tremendously. So it's a two-part, I think, way of how I help with generational curses. And so, but that's me. That's what I do. Or yeah, smudging. Yeah. Some people. And what I'll do, here's what I'm going to do next week. Next week, I will teach you how to smudge or sage your home. Okay, I will teach you what you do. I will actually teach you the epiphany of the doors, the blessing of the doors. I'll teach you. I'll walk you through it. And so here's what I do and here's why I use sage. If you have questions, go ahead and jump in. I promise you, I promise you, I'm doing the best I can to answer them. Please remember that I have 3 computers running at the same time, and I have right now 221 messages on Messenger. So I promise you, I'm doing the best I can. But sometimes when I bless a home, I'm not allowed to bring incense because of the smoke and because I use charcoal. And in some apartments, they won't allow you to burn charcoal. So I will use a sage stick. I don't have an issue with it. Not at all. And or even a facility. Yeah, a facility sometimes won't allow you to use charcoal. So for me, I don't have a problem. So what I'm going to do next Friday, I'm going to teach you how you can actually do this, how you can bless your own home. And I will teach you the prayer. And I will also teach you how to smudge or sage. All right. It doesn't. Palo Santo doesn't smell. I might have to get some Palo Santo. I've heard Palo Santo doesn't smell as bad. But yeah, because I have to be careful, Diane, because I suffer from chronic cluster migraines, as most of you know, from playing football and concussions, and so certain smells can trigger the migraines. And the sage that really smells, boy, that really just throws me for a loop. So, anything can open a portal if you use it for the wrong reason. For example, here's what I mean. Well, my phone. I can use my phone as a portal. How? Well, I put it on the desk. Is there anybody here? Can you use this phone? Can you make a noise? Can you do whatever? That's opening a portal. A portal is a door, if you will, that you're using whatever tool, whatever item, whatever it doesn't matter whatever object, whatever it might be. That is a form of opening a portal. It's a form of opening the community. That's why people always talk about closing the portal, blessing the item to close that portal. So any item that you use to communicate with the spirit world is opening a portal. Now, some people say, well, I kind of disagree. That's fine. But I'm coming from a Catholic theologian perspective. So that's my perspective. Some people may disagree, and that's okay. That's okay. But, okay, Palo Santo should be okay. Okay, I'll try that. Yeah, there's a lot of apps out there, isn't it? This is dangerous teachings. No, Laura, no, Laura, don't block her, because Laura, I want to teach you something. Laura, listen to me very carefully. And I want you to listen carefully to me. What I do is I go to people's homes and I bless them for absolutely free. I've never charged in over 2 decades. I pay for it out of my own pocket. People who are going through extreme trauma and demonic attacks many times turn to their clergy, and their clergy then tells them that there's no such thing as demons and there's no such thing as possession. And even some clergy even tell them there's no such thing as the devil. So they have no one to turn to. So then they call somebody like myself. I don't know them, and quite honestly, I don't owe them anything. But because I believe that Jesus Christ is my personal Lord and Savior, and I have made a vow to help people at all costs, even at my own financial peril, by putting it on my credit card and not asking for any reimbursement in return, I go to their home. And sometimes I have to rent a car, and sometimes I have to go stay at a hotel for 3 to 5 days. Never again, not once asking them for one penny. I then bless their homes. I perform the minor rite of exorcism. I teach them how they can do it themselves so they can empower them so they can keep their faith strong. I also have mass in their home. So if you're going to come on my live and you're going to tell me that what I'm doing is evil and wrong, then here's what I want you to do. If you're going to troll and throw stones, I have 13,000 emails from people right now needing my help immediately. How many of those people are you willing to write a check for so that I can get to? I'm sorry, what? Sometimes it could be close to $1,000 or $1,500 to get to these people's homes. So, Laura, since you want to throw stones and criticize what I do, okay, why don't you then sponsor a family? Sponsor a family, Laura, or anybody else who's going to come in and spread and say, oh, you shouldn't do that. 12,000, there you go. 12,285 people asking me to come to their homes immediately. I get on the phone and I speak to people and they're crying to me and they're begging me to come to their home because they're terrified and they have children. And I can't get to their homes because they live in California or New York or Florida. And I don't get paid as clergy. I don't get paid one dime. Not one dime. Not from the church, nothing. I do this literally for this ministry 100% free. I haven't won the lottery. I'm not wealthy. I don't have a private plane. So, Laura, if you're going to come in here and say that I'm spreading all this terrible, scary stuff and that I'm false and all this other stuff, then you do me a favor. If you're so eager to throw stones at me, then why don't you sponsor a family so then I don't have to keep telling them that I can't come to their home to help them? Or would you rather just sit on the sidelines and bitch? That's probably more like it, isn't it? It's interesting that the Sanhedrins did the same thing to Christ. And Jesus called them hypocrites. I'll pray for you, Laura. Okay. That's the way it goes. A lot of people like to complain, but very, very few people like to offer to help. They will give your criticism. They will give their criticism for free. But they will never, ever sponsor a family for me to help them. Never once. Well, that's fine, Laura. Okay, Laura, that's fine. That's great that you do help, Laura. But are you willing to criticize me for free, or are you willing to help the family so that I can get to them? Are you willing to do that? If you are, I'll contact you afterwards. I'll be happy to contact you. And then I can talk to the mom that I spoke to earlier today who has 3 small kids who are begging me to come to her house, and I couldn't come to her because she lives in Montana. So if you're willing to help, I can tell you the expenses. I've already written them all down, and I'll be happy to send you the itinerary. Hey, Laura. Bye, Felicia. Okay. Sorry, I had to deal with the troll. And that's how you deal with trolls. Again, love to criticize, but never offer to help. Well, appreciate that, Jeremiah. Love you right back, brother. Okay, well, thank you very much, AJ True Crime for the Universe. I appreciate that. That's very kind of you. Thank you. Oh, no. Well, you're not seeing it's more it's these lights. I gotta move these lights because okay. Here's what I want you. Here's what before we go into. Thank you much, horror freak. I appreciate someone. Here's what I want you to do. Oh, you can go to my bishopjameslong.com, bishopjameslong.com, and scroll down. If you and there's a donation there. You can make whatever donation. Pray for us. Pray for the ministry. We appreciate that very, very much. Not any prayers is. Well, that's thank you. Someone's name is Felicia. Thank you, Felicia. Thank you. Thank you for the glasses, Andy. Thank you. So thank you guys. I appreciate that very, very much. Yeah, you can go to bishopjameslong.com and just scroll down. It says donations, and I thought I receive no stipend from the church. We do not get paid a penny, not one penny. It'll be different if I made $80,000 a year. Well, that's different. We do not get paid nothing. So this ministry is 100% free. That's a good. Okay, Rod, is it Rod? Okay. Thank you very much, Jennifer. Someone is asking me, and I want to know what you guys think. I'm going to pose this to you. Hey, can someone? Thank you very much, Cole. Can someone do me a favor on TikTok and let's do a poll? Let's do a poll. Is it evil to celebrate Halloween? Thank you, Renee. I appreciate it. No, Fred. You know what? I've seen the trailer for the new Exorcist movie, but I haven't seen it yet. I don't know when it's out, when it's due, but I don't know. I just from what I've seen. Oh, thank you, Carol, for the universe. Thank you for the universes, guys. Thank you. So we have a poll right now. Jack's Paranormal did a poll on TikTok, and so there's a poll, guys. Hey, there's a poll. Go ahead and vote. Because I would love to. Well, thank you, Nicole. I would love to know. No, my camera's on. I would love to know what your guys' thoughts are. No, my camera's on. All right. George says Halloween is evil. Okay. And again, here's the thing. Everyone has their opinion, and so, guys, my camera's on, so I'm sorry, but it might be your. Thank you very much. Thank you. My camera's on, so I'm not really for sure why you're saying my camera's not on. Thank you. Thank you, Jesse. Okay, so how many of you do the poll? Do the poll on TikTok. Do the poll on TikTok because it's going so fast I can't see. Do the poll on TikTok. I agree, George. And I want to know what Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter are saying. Let's see. Debbie says, no, it is All Hallows Eve. Beverly, I have no idea if it's evil, but I don't celebrate it. Dying the Day of Fraser originally was celebration for the loved ones in spirit. I don't think it's evil to celebrate Halloween. And your intent behind it. Hetty says, no, Protestant churches preach that Halloween is bad. I think that they think it's the devil. A lot of churches do. Joanne says, nope. Bishop, no, it's not evil. Debbie, I celebrate all three. And Bishop says, nope. Diane says it's more about commercial. Celebrating Halloween is not evil, says brother Mark. And Victoria says no. So there's a lot of people saying no. Okay. So what? I certainly will. I will Salty before we leave. Do we have the answer with the poll? I'm really curious what TikTok did it say. All right, Darren says yes, it's evil. Okay. All right. So wow, look at that, everybody on TikTok. Is it evil to celebrate Halloween? We have an official answer. 83% said no. 11.7%, so we'll just round it up to 12%, said yes. So again, so we have 88% said nope, and 12% said yes. Okay. I'm going to ask you guys a question. Are you ready for this? I used to do this on my Facebook page, and people loved it. People loved it. I'm going to ask you guys a question because I'm curious to see what you think. Okay? Here's the question. You're a time traveler. You have the ability to time travel. So, Jack's Paranormal, put this on this just a second. You have the ability to go back into a certain day and time, and you decide this one particular time because of its momentous occasion. The date is April 20th, 1889. April the 20th, 1889. On that day, Adolf was obviously the leader of the German Empire. You got to be careful because certain words they'll ban you. Adolf was born. So baby Adolf is in the crib on April the 20th, 1889. And this is the type of stuff they asked during the seminary when I was studying the seminary. It's an ethics class. Knowing what happened in World War II, knowing the atrocity, the terror, the murder, the horrible activity that Adolf decided to do, you have the ability at that very moment to end Adolf's life as a baby, knowing what will happen if you don't. Do you choose to remove Adolf's existence? Or do you say nope and you walk away? So, Jack's Paranormal. Now, hold on, don't say yes or no, TikTok. Hold on, TikTok. Jack's Paranormal. If you would put that in there, would you remove baby Adolf if you could time travel? I'm really curious what some of you would say. So we're gonna do that was one of a TikTok. Oh, we're not okay. Well, not let me do the poll. Okay, don't mention Adolf's name. Just say, would you remove the life? Would you or wouldn't you? Just say yeah. Would you or wouldn't you? And because everybody knows what you're talking about. And I'm just curious because when I was in graduate school in the seminary, it was posed to us as seminarians, and it was a deep question that I thought, man, knowing what I know, and then having that ability, just say yeah, thank you. So there we go. So there's a yes or no. Jack's Paranormal just put it up there on TikTok. I'm just curious about what you guys say. So we'll give it a little bit of time. Vote yes or no. I'm curious about what you guys say. On Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, they are saying no, it's evil. No. Let's see. We're still talking about that. No, walk away. No. Would a dark energy simply replace him? God could have done that, but didn't. Michelle says no. Bill Payne says no. It is a deep question. So I used to do that. We used to have a lot of these ethics, these, and I want to start doing that a little bit more because I really enjoy that, and hopefully you enjoy them too because it makes you think, and it challenges your own core beliefs. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So Thomas says no, he's still a child of God. Okay, so I'm curious. Jax, what are people saying? Do we have it in? Let's in that that poll, see what people are saying. Oh, 69% said no, and 31% said yes. Wow. 69% said no, and 31% said yes. That is interesting, isn't it? Yeah, we can't repeat it because because some people you might get, we have to be careful with certain words because you can get banned. But yeah, that's an interesting poll question. That really is an interesting question. I want to ask one question, and then we'll get to some of your questions. Yes or no? Do you believe demonic possession exists? So, Jax, if we can do one more poll, I'm curious about what your thoughts. Do you believe that? Well, we're going to do a poll, everybody. We're going to do a poll. Hold on. Don't say yes or no, TikTok. Hold on, because I'm not going to be able to look at them because they go so fast. So, Jax Paranormal, do you? So we have a poll on TikTok. Do you believe demonic possession exists? So poll, we'll do that. And so Bill says yes. Michelle says yes. Diane says yes. Joanne, absolutely. Bishop Grace says yes. I know for a fact. And of course, if you on Instagram, you're more than welcome to jump in too. Angela says yes. Victoria, yes. Beverly, yes. Rosella, yes. Wow. Brendan, yes. There's a lot of I'm really curious about what everybody else thinks about this. Jeannie says yes, but never seen it. Fair. Yes, but it's rare. I agree. Okay. Yes, I've seen it personally. Okay. Yes. Lots of people saying yeah. So, and lots of people on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter are saying yes too. Do you believe that demonic possession exists? No, God does not have a wife. Okay, saw it on Ghost Adventures. Okay, it's biblical. Okay, Jax, what do we have here? And do me a favor, folks. Do me a favor, please. I want to hear from you. Okay, holy moly! Listen to this on TikTok. 97% said yes. 97% said they believe demonic possession exists. 3% said no. That's amazing. See, that polls like that fascinate me because that's data, and you can debate and all this other stuff. But that's a very interesting poll. So you can, of course, if you're doing papers or if you're doing presentations, feel free to use these polls if you're ever doing a presentation on possession or this is during Bishop Long's live, and he asked, you can 97% on TikTok said yes, they believe in demonic possession, and 3% said no. Yeah, this is, again, thank you very much. Okay, thank you, Mr. Producer. Here's what I want you to do. I need something from you guys. I want your feedback. I need your feedback. So next week, I'm going to teach you how to do a blessing your own home. I'm going to teach you how to sage, and I'm going to get the hater gators that I really don't care. But I'm going to do that next Friday. But I want to hear from you. Do me a favor and go on bishopjameslong.com. Click on go down to where it says social media links. I'm not going to leave TikTok. I'm going to stay with you guys for a little bit longer. Or it says social. Click on my Facebook link and send me a message on Messenger. And tell me what you would like for me to teach on a Friday. But it has to be specific. Like if you're wanting to know whatever it is, but just because I love teaching about a topic in the paranormal, whatever it might be. But I need your feedback. So what would you like for me to teach about, whether it be skinwalkers, whether it be, well, I do possession all the time, but and that's fine, but don't do it now. Don't do it now. Just do that if you would. Okay. And no, we asked Mary to pray, but Mary's not got this right. So yeah, I would appreciate that. Send me on Facebook a messenger and say, hey, look, can you please teach us about this? Can you teach about this topic or that? And if you say aliens, be specific. Or if you say Bigfoot, be specific. Or vampires or werewolves or whatever it is. I'd be really, really curious. Okay. First of all, for those of you on Spreaker, I'm going to say goodnight to you guys. Remember, folks, I'm going to stay with you guys. TikTok, don't go anywhere. I'll stay with you guys. On Instagram, head on over to TikTok, and hopefully we'll see you guys over there, okay? All right. Okay, my friends, on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, on KGRADB Radio, I remind you all the time that your value does not decrease based on someone's inability or refusal to see your worth. You're priceless, and never let anybody tell you or convince you otherwise. Remember, tomorrow night, I'm going to be here at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on this channel, on Open Mic with myself and, of course, Miss Wilma. Okay, KGRADB Radio, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, God bless.
The Sacred Division has been brought to you by Bishop Long's online paranormal course. Learn demonology, angelology, paranormal studies, and genealogy. It's 100% online, and you learn at your own pace. Please go to www.bishopjameslong.com and click on the paranormal course link.